Hello, Professor. We're gonna give presentation on Chapter 3 flowing, Chapter 4 screening, and Chapter 5 accessing. So we have a team of two members. My name is Abu Bakr Muhammad, and my another team member is Major bin Sultan. So I'm gonna start with the table of content. In slide 3, Kevin Kelly's Technological Insights presentation. Kevin Kelly's Insights. Kevin Kelly's The Inevitable presents a compelling framework for understanding how technology transforms society through gradual yet profound shifts. Chapter 3:5 Explore three fundamental forces reshaping our digital landscape: flowing, screening, and accessing. In fundamental forces reshaping our digital landscape, flowing, screening, and in fundamental forces. In flowing, Kelly describes how static products are becoming dynamic services with continuous updates replacing fixed versions. Screening examines how screens have become our primary interface with information, transforming not just how we consume content but how we process reality itself. Accessing articulates the shift from ownership to access-based model, where having immediate use of something trumps possessing it. Together, these forces create a world where information and services are increasingly fluid, accessible, and mediated through digital interfaces. Rather than isolated trends, Kelly presents these as interconnected, inevitable interfaces. Progression of digital technologies, evolution fundamentally altering economic structures, social relationships, and individual identity in ways that extend far beyond more technological convenience. In slide 4, technological and societal context. We exist in an era characterized by unprecedented digital transformation where the boundaries between physical and virtual realms increasingly blur. And the technological infrastructure enabling this transformation includes ubiquitous high-speed internet, cloud computing, sophisticated algorithms, and the pro- proliferation of smart devices. This foundation has created conditions where information and services can flow continuously, be accessed instantly, and be displayed on ever-present screens. Societally, these changes have coincided with shifting values around ownership, privacy, and community. The millennial and Gen Z generations particularly demonstrate comfort with subscription models over ownership, digital identity formation, and expectation of instant access to services and information. This shift extends beyond mere consumer behavior to impact fundamental social institutions like education, media, and commerce. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated many of these trends, forcing rapid adoption of digital alternatives to in-person activities and normalizing remote work, telemedicine, and virtual education. Within this context, Kelly's insights prove particularly present as his predicted inevitables have arrived faster even he might have anticipated reshaping societal expectation and behaviors around information flow, screen mediated experience, and access based economies. In the next slide is scenarios. The music industry exemplifies Kelly's concept of flowing as streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music have transformed music from static products to dynamic flowing experiences. Previously, music existed as physical albums purchased discreetly, vinyl records, cassettes, CDs representing finished immutable products. Today's streaming services transform music into a continuous subscription based flow where 60 plus million tracks are instantly accessible for a monthly fee. This shift has fundamentally altered how artists release music, often as singles rather than albums, how consumers discover new content through algorithmic recommendations, and how revenue is generated pennies per stream rather than dollars per album. Telescreening concept manifests prominently in platforms like Netflix and YouTube, which have transformed internet entertainment from scheduled programming to an on-demand experiences mediated through screens. These platforms leverage sophisticated algorithms to curate personalized content suggestions, creating feedback loops that shape viewing habits while disrupting in traditional content distribution models. Similarly, in education platforms like Coursera, edX, and Khan Academy embody the screening transformation by uh, converting traditional classroom experiences into screen-based interaction. These platforms have democratize access to elite educational content, allowing anyone with internet access to take courses from prestigious institutions regardless of geography on socioeconomic status. For accessing cloud computing services like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform ex- uh, exemplify the shift from ownership to access based models in computing infrastructure rather than purchasing and maintaining expensive server hardware. Business now access computing resources on demand, paying only for what they use. This transformation has lowered barriers to entry for startups, enabled rapid scaling for growing business, and created new concerns around data security, sovereignty, and privacy as information moves from local storage to shared cloud environments. In slide 6, affected individuals and industries. The flow of music through streaming services has profoundly impacted multiple stakeholders throughout the music ecosystem. For artists, streaming has dramatically altered revenue models, with many musicians experiencing significant income reduction as per stream. Payments typically 0.003 to $0.005 have replaced album sales. This has forced artists to adopt by touring more frequently, diversifying revenue streams through merchandise and using streaming primarily as a marketing tool rather than a direct income source. Record labels have restructured contracts to capture streaming revenue and expanded into con- concert promotion and merchandising to remain viable. Music consumers have benefited from unprecedented access while adopting new consumption patterns, creating personalized playlists, discovering global artists through algorithmic recommendations, and treating music more as a utility than a collection. In a screening domain, content creators have adopted to platform specific metrics, with YouTube creators optimizing for engagement and watch time, while Netflix producer designs Gable series. Traditional entertainment gatekeeper studios, networks, cable providers have scrambled to launch competing streaming services to risk relevance. Educational institutions have been forced to reevaluate their value proposition as screen-based learning platforms provide accessible alternatives to traditional degree programs. Students now customize educational experiences, combining formal degrees with specialized online certificates and self-directed learning through tutorial videos. The accessing transformation in computing has created massive new cloud service providers while pushing traditional hardware manufacturers to adopt. IT professionals have shifted from hardware maintenance to cloud architect roles requiring new skill sets. Small businesses have gained enterprise-level capabilities without capital investments, while large organizations have transmitted from capital to operational expenditure models. Data security professionals face evolving challenges as information moves outside organizational boundaries, creating new specialization in cloud security and compliance. The next slides, my team member will be covering.
Hello, Professor. This is Mehjabin Sultana. Today I'm going to continue the next slide 7, disruptions and opportunities. The flowing music ecosystem has disrupted traditional distribution channels and revenue models, but created opportunities for global reach without physical distribution networks. Artists with niche appeal can now find global audiences, while streaming data provides unprecedented insights into listener preferences. The disruptions of album-based listening has been countered by opportunities for more frequent releases and direct fan engagement through social platforms that complement streaming services. Screening technologies have disrupted appointment viewing and traditional advertising models while creating opportunities for targeted marketing and content personalization. The abundance of viewing options has fragmented audiences but enabled content creators to serve highly specialized interests profitably. In education, screening has disrupted geographical monopolies of elite institutions while creating opportunities for specialized knowledge providers to reach global audiences. The unbundling of courses from degree programs threatens traditional universities but creates flexibility for lifelong learners seeking specific skills rather than credentials. The accessing paradigm in computing has disrupted hardware manufacturers and IT departments while creating opportunities for specialized cloud services targeting specific industries or compliance requirements. The shift has lowered barriers to advanced computing capabilities like AI and big data analytics, making these tools accessible to organizations of all sizes. This documentalization creates competitive pressure but enables innovation that would be impossible under ownership models requiring massive upfront investment. The next slide will be technology's impact on identity and progress. These technological shifts profoundly reshape both individual and industry identity. Music listeners increasingly define themselves through personalized playlists rather than album collections. With musical taste becoming more fluid and algorithm influence, artists have adapted their identities from album creators to content generators, maintaining continuous engagement through singles, social media, and multimedia content. The music industry's identity has shifted from gatekeeper to facilitator, focusing less on controlling distribution and more on providing discovery tools and integrated experiences. In the screening realm, viewers increasingly identify as subscribers to particular content ecosystems rather than casual consumers. Content creators define themselves as platform specific metrics and audience niches rather than broad democratic appeal. Education institutions struggle to maintain identity as exclusive knowledge providers when their content is widely accessible, forcing focus on community, mentorship, and credential value rather than information delivery. For businesses adopting accessing models for computing resources, organizational identity increasingly centers on data and application rather than physical infrastructure. Technology teams identify less as maintainers and more as architects, focusing on integration and optimizing rather than installation and troubleshooting. Industry progress now depends more on agility and innovation than capital investment capacity, fundamentally altering competitive dynamics across sectors. Slide 9. Synthesized findings. The interconnected natures of Kelly's technological forces become evident when examining these scenarios historically, holistically. Following enables continuous improvement of the products and services. Screening provides the interface for experiencing these flows, and accessing removes the friction of ownership, that would otherwise impede adoption. Together, these forces create compounding effects. Music streams to our screens from cloud service servers, educational content flows through personalized interface from access repositories. Computing resources adapt dynamically to demand without physical intervention. The synthesis reveals how technological transformation follows patterns that transcend specific industries. Each transformation begins by disrupting traditional gatekeepers and distributions models, proceeds through a period of business model experimentation, and eventually stabilizes around new value proposition. Throughout this process, power typically shifts from content owners to platform operators who control the interfaces between the creators and the consumers. Yet these platforms themselves remain vulnerable and further disruptions as new technological capabilities emerge, ensuring constant evolution rather than static and states. Slide 10. Broader implications. The broader implications of these technological forces extend to fundamental questions about value, agency, and the social organization. As Kelly predicted, the increasing dominance of flows, screens, and access models creates abundance in information and services, but potential scarcity in attention and privacy. The shift demands new literacy skills, not just the ability to access information, but the wisdom to filter it meaningfully and maintain agency within algorithm environments. For businesses and institutions, these trends necessitate fundamental rethinking of value creation. When products become services, when experiences are increasing mediated through the screens, and when access replaces ownership, competitive advantage derives less from what organizations own and more from how effectively they filter, personalize, and integrate digital flows for specific audiences. These transformations also raise profound questions about quality and power in digital economies. While each trend theoretically democratizes access to information services and tools, they simultaneously create new forms of centralization around platforms that control these flows. Addressing this tension between the democratizations and centralization represents perhaps the most significant challenge for ensuring these technological inevitable enhance rather than diminish human flourishing. Slide 11. Question and answers. The first question: how smaller artists can thrive in streaming economies despite minimal per stream compensation. The next one is whether educational institutions can maintain relevance as content becomes freely accessible. Then how businesses can balance cloud computing benefits against data security risk. The next one, the long-term social implications of algorithm curated content experiences. Strategies for maintaining how agency in increasingly automated digital environments. The next one, how to address the tension between democratized access and platform centralization. Next, whether these technological shifts exacerbate or reduce existing social inequalities. Next, what new metrics of success emerge as ownership declines in importance. The last one is how privacy concerns might eventually reshape accessing and following dynamics. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor. Hope you like our
Thank you,
presentation.
Professor. Thank you, Professor.
You have a great one.